I'm joined now by Richard Goldstein, CFO of Canntab Therapeutics, trading on the CSE under the symbol PILL. Richard, welcome back.
Thank you.
Richard, I have experimented with some pills. I'm not going to say where I got them from, but I actually have been in the U.S. and experimenting with edibles and all of these different things. And
sure.
They're having an effect on my brain. No, but seriously, the world of pills, as it pertains to cannabinoids, they're available currently as medical products?
They're not available yet because they haven't received Health Canada approval. We're still at a level right now where all you're getting is bud or oil made from bud, and that oil can be essentially delivered either as a tincture in a jar with a dropper, or in a gel cap or soft capsule, soft gel cap, that kind of thing.
Right.
Pills would be the next generation, we believe. And
sure. And what's the timeline for that?
Well, we got to get Health Canada approval, and so the good news is we do have a facility, actually two facilities, one that we're building out long-term at FSD, announced a long time ago, and then a short-term space that's an R&D facility within their current approved facility, and that will allow us to essentially start to create not only capsules for sale for FSD and for ourselves, but more importantly, to finally get our suite of hard-coated tablets ranging from anywhere from an instant release to an extended release to a flash melt, so a whole host of varieties of delivery mechanisms, all fundamentally from an oral dose tablet perspective.
Sure. In the recreational context, would you be able to sell something that does not make health claims that is in a pill form?
Well, in places where it's approved, again, in Canada, we will be able to sell to a recreational marketplace once the pill itself is approved as an oral dose delivery method. We could certainly be in the United States right now and doing that, but truthfully, the rec market really isn't our marketplace. 10 milligrams is the maximum amount of THC that you can put into a tablet or into a capsule set by Health Canada. And the reality is 10 milligrams is good. It's a good dose. It's a it's a medical dose. Yeah. It's not a recreational.
Right. Well, so I mean, as a recreational person, 10 milligrams makes me very antisocial.
Really?
Yes. I'm a lightweight. What can I say?
Okay, well, I can tell you that people, to get really high, if you're a regular user, you're probably looking at needing somewhere in the 40 to 50 milligrams, which you could do. I mean, you want to take 4 or 5 pills. It might be a little bit expensive. Yeah. But if your budget is big, please, go ahead and buy our tablets when they're available, but you're not our marketplace.
Right. So the pill format is more or less a way to very precisely deliver dosages in a quickly uptakeable manner, assuming that the active ingredients have been sort of bioactivated. And so the target really is a medical audience.
It is. I mean, doctors today are still a little bit hesitant to recommend and to prescribe cannabis as a medical solution for people. Many of the doctors that we spoke of, really what they want at the end of the day is they want to be able to titrate. Titrating is how you start in the way of a dose and how you build up that dose based on individual needs of a particular patient. So we start off at a 2.5 milligram. I mean, a 2.5 milligram would probably not necessarily even get a large rodent stoned or whatever, but it's a great starting point. If you're a senior, 70, 80, 90 years old, many of whom are using cannabis now medically for the first time, you don't want to get stoned. You want to just understand how this thing works. You start slow, 2.5 milligram, 5 milligram, and then we cap out at 10 milligram on the THC side. Yeah. On the CBD side, there is not the same regulations as to how much, and in that case, we do believe more is better from a dose perspective, and so we envision actually a tablet that is a combination of THC and CBD, both using instant release and extended release capabilities.
Interesting. The so Health Canada has said that October 17th, 2019, we're going to start to see edibles and beverages available. We don't have any clarity on what exactly that entails, but at the end of the day, for Canntab, what's the difference between a pill and a candy?
Right. Well, a pill is not a candy that that's sweet and tasty and appeals to children and so on and so forth. I mean, a pill is a pill. It's like an aspirin. It looks the same, just as easy to take, and it is medicine. But your point is well taken, because at the end of the day, with people, where we go out and speak on the occasion, or we're asked, well, when's the day Health Canada gives you the okie dokie? And, the reality is October 17th, there's no way that they're going to allow a gummy bear or a chocolate or some form of other edible to be consumed ahead of a Canntab tablet. So I guess the end date for us, the worst date, is October, but we'd like to see approval come certainly ahead of edibles and get going into the marketplace.
Yeah. When Health Canada approves your edible tablets, will you then seek certification in the United States and Europe?
Well, in the United States, it's still illegal federally. It's certainly something that we can submit to FDA. We have filed patents, though, in Canada and the United States. So to the extent that those are awarded, we will be, or at least our intellectual property will be really safe at that point. So the United States is a possibility. But I'll tell you, one of the jurisdictions that's massive in the world today is Mexico. Mexico is a great marketplace. Many people, think that's where the weed comes from, right? Or used to come from, Acapulco Gold or whatever. But the reality is there's a large medical user base in Mexico, and it's our understanding that upon Health Canada approval, we would essentially just have to file with the government and the approval, obviously listing all the contents, and everything inside this tablet, by the way, is all approved excipients by Health Canada. And with that approval, we should be able to distribute in Mexico alongside a long-time 20-year business partner of my co-founder, Jeff Renwick, who is also our CEO.
Oh, okay. So you've already got a distribution channel in Mexico.
We have a large distribution channel in Mexico ready to go. But again, we're going to need Health Canada's approval on this, because we have to export. We want to make everything out of Coburg at FSD and then export internationally. Real estate really isn't something we need to do. We don't need to build factories. We can service the world out of one facility.
So will you have to do like patient trials?
Well, you don't have to do patient trials yet, because we're not making any claims. Right now, the government has approved cannabis, as I mentioned, in oil and in bud form as a methodology or as a medication, if you will, for people without laying claims. So there's no reason why you can't just take a tablet without a clinical trial and without laying claims. Having said that, we recently announced a clinical trial that we hope to get approved at the University of British Columbia. A well-known orthopedic surgeon, not just in Canada, but internationally, and certainly within North America, Dr. Donald Garbuz is the lead investigator that we've engaged. We have submitted a whole request to the ethics committee, because you have to get ethics committee. You're using this on humans and it hasn't been approved. But the reality is this test is going to hopefully demonstrate that we have a formulation that we can lay claim to, along the lines that you say, to basically take people that are gone through post-operative knee replacement surgery and who are traditionally given essentially 60 oxycodone prescription to manage their pain over the course of several weeks to several months, depending on how the surgery went and how the individual responded to that surgery. What we're hopeful for is that Canntab has a formulation consisting of actually a combination of immediate release THC. So you get that 15 to 20 minutes, you start to feel the drug kick in, and then an 18-hour release of 50 milligrams of CBD alongside some other terpenes and flavonoids, which are smaller parts of the plant but have very good benefits when you're starting to look at an indication. And we do that in a bi-layer tablet, so it's a 2-layer tablet, half being the THC, the other half being the CBD. And according to Dr. Garbuz, any reduction in opioid use with a Canntab tablet would be considered a very big win.
Sure. So that leads me to my next question. I mean, the whole idea of tablets to replace, for example, methadone in the treatment of addicts strikes me as an obvious product pursuit for, the whole cannabis product suite. So how likely is that to happen, and what would be the timeline on that?
Money and time is really all it takes. Anything can be clinically tested. Our own tests will probably encompass approximately 200 individuals. And you could do something along the lines with methadone. I'm not a scientist. I'm just the son of a pharmacist, if you will. But Jeff Renwick, obviously, and our lead research guy, Joshi Laxaminarian, he's quite the genius. And he'd be the one to figure out whether it was something that we would want to entertain. But I can also tell you, outside of opioid use and painkiller, we do believe we have formulations both for sleep. We think we have one nailed for irritable bowel syndrome, which is a disaster of a disease, colitis, ileitis, Crohn's, crippling people, literally, and we think we have something. So all those are going to take time and money, but the most important thing for Canntab now is we want to move from an R&D company. We have a product that's commercially ready to go, subject to approval. Let's go out there, let's start generating some real revenue, let's show the marketplace that we are a real company, and then we believe a path to further clinical trials will be laid out for us.
Right. I haven't heard of anybody else doing these types of things in Canada. I know there's a couple in the United States because I've sampled some of their products, but are there a lot of companies doing this? Is the competitive landscape crowded, is my point? I
don't think it's crowded. When we first started, which was, probably over 3 years ago, it was very limited. People can press tablets just through force and the machinery. So you could actually take just bud that's been crumbled into such a small particle and then squeeze it together hard enough to be able to sell a pill. But that's not real pharma. We make in a GMP facility a true pharma product. The instant release, probably easier for somebody else to come into the marketplace with a proper product out there. The extended release, nowhere near as easy. This is a product that lasts 18 hours. It is essentially put through your system and delivered with what's called a Cmax, the high point, at around the 12-hour period. So this is something that can give you essentially all day or all night relief.
Okay. What are the big major upcoming catalysts in 2019 that investors are going to be looking out for?
Well, in 2019, for sure, you can expect revenue from us. At a minimum, our first revenue will be generated out of oil capsules, both THC and CBD, with FSD. By chance, and this is a fluke, and you'll admit it's a fluke, we did announce today in a press release, FSD did as well, world-class extractions. The three of us have got together and did a 5-year long-term deal for a hemp supply, an organic hemp supply, from a gentleman by the name of Thomas Elcombe and a handful of his friends and family. And they're growers here in Ontario, have been farmers essentially for several generations. And with their hemp, we will create CBD oil, and from the CBD oil, we'll create medicine.
Wow. So FSD is going to source the hemp, world-class extraction is going to extract it, you're going to put it into pill form.
And add value added, exactly. And we're all going to do it together inside Coburg facility at FSD's home.
Wow. A virtuous circle. All right. Richard, we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in due course. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate you having me.
You bet.
All righty.